ask you, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know usually your heart is with smaller businesses. And I know that's what you really like. But like with that kind of healthcare organization where you see a mass exodus and you know that there's money being wasted, you know that this is not being handled the way it could be with their leadership. What would you do when you walked into something like that?
I mean, it's definitely harder if it's a larger company, right?
Mhm.
Because you're not really able to, and this is why I went out on my own. I felt it was really difficult to have my voice heard as an HR person who was fighting for the people, but also, balancing business needs. But then, they're just people are more numbers in larger corporations for the most part, less,
Yeah.
it's less human. Um,
Well, let's say
I think that,
it's a
yeah,
smaller
for a small
organization.
business.
Yeah, let's say it's like a 50-person surgery clinic or a 30-person
Yeah.
pain clinic, something like that.
I think that it's important to do exit interviews first of all. And like a lot of people will use them. The information you get from them can sometimes be a little not true. Like sometimes I would say an exiting employee may share nothing, or they may just share their list of grievances from the past 5 years they've worked there that they've been building up and never expressed to anyone.
Yeah.
So it's not so much the content and the specifics that I'm looking at. I always say kind of like take that with a grain of salt in a way, but it's the trends that I look at. So if you have three people in a row citing the same issues, leaving for the same reasons, to me, that's where the truth lies. This is a problem. This is what we have to solve for, right?
Yes.
Um, I think, you know, you definitely want to get ahead of those things. You don't want people to just leave all at once. But if that does happen, those exit interviews may be good resources and data for you to then act, for your employees that you have left, act in advance, right? Is it doing stay interviews, as they call them, or check-ins, with your employee to be like, hey, what are some roadblocks? What are some things you're struggling with right now? What are some things that are going really well? I always recommend people do that anyway with their employees, like quarterly check-ins, yearly reviews, but giving them space, like dedicated space on their calendar to come with questions, to talk about the job itself, not just what am I working on? What are the daily tasks? What needs to be completed, but more big picture conversations. You find out a lot when you give people that space, I find. And asking what roadblocks are, I think, in my opinion, is always my favorite way to ask, like, what they're struggling with, because it could be something as small as like, I've been trying to get with this one person in touch with this one person and I can't, and it's jamming up everything else I do. Maybe you didn't know that and you just saw that they weren't getting anything done. So there's definitely a lot you can peel back. But with that being said, I think the exit interview is the place to start, right? If you already have people leaving, figure out why they're leaving.
Yeah. See, and that is so powerful for two reasons. Here's two things that I heard. Number one, you're approaching the whole situation with empathy and compassion. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to get the job done, that you're not going to get to the bottom of what's going on, but it's actually a people-centric approach. It's a human-centric approach. And it's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. But here's the second, to be able to bring in someone who is the expert, who's like, these are the steps we need to take. This is what we need to do to make sure that this is satisfactorily taken care of for everybody involved. You're not just looking at this person or that person. You're like, this is how we fix that.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to have someone like you with your experience and your background and your expertise in on these kind of situations. Because like with this place I'm talking about, this has been going on for 3 years.
Oh gosh. And so think about not like even leadership, right? But think about those other employees that are like, just regular employees trying to do their jobs and that have been there for this amount of time. Think about how they must feel having their coworkers leave all the time and getting pummeled with all of the additional work and have all of that change around them. Like change can be good, change can be bad, right? But regardless if change is good or bad, it creates some sort of feeling and upheaval, right? Like it's not
Yeah.
comfortable for most people.
No. And rapid change all the time is the worst. I'm a member of the Association
Absolutely.
for Change Management Professionals, and that's a major part of it, is this whole idea of change fatigue and what it does to people. Plus, I mean, if it's me and my buddy just left, I'm gonna say, "Hey, can you get me in? Hook me up."
Absolutely. Absolutely. Where did you go? Get me like refer me.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And then your buddy that you're asking is probably making a referral fee then. So like it's just win-win for everybody. Also, when people leave jobs and start new jobs, they usually that's how they get their pay increases a
yes,
lot of times, and it's an unfortunate thing. I think that with like pay transparency laws, it will kind of like bring pay transparency to the forefront. Not every state has them yet, but it is something that's kind of like growing everywhere. And so it is forcing businesses to pay attention to what they're paying for each position, because now everyone can see what they're paying. So you have to make sure that you have like a comp plan ready. So I do think that that's, to me, I love a pay transparency law. It's trending in the right direction. And I know some business owners get a little nervous about it, but I think that they should embrace it. I think it's really a good thing for everybody.
yeah. No,
But I
I
could talk, that's a tangent.